folks, welcome back to Pop Pop Fizzle. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Heidi.
And we're here today to talk about 2 episodes of Star Wars Rebels that we watched but did not film a reaction for. There's a reason for that.
Ugh.
We had gone on vacation. If you've been scoping out the channel, you'll see those videos where we vlogged our vacation a little bit. And so we enjoyed our time away.
Wonderful.
These episodes aired while we were away.
Yes.
We watched them immediately when we came back home.
However,
we were both sick as dogs by that point, as you can hear in my voice and probably
mine.
in Heidi's. We're still pretty sickly.
Working our
We
way
are
through.
upright for the most part, but we didn't want to film ourselves that particular day. So we're just going to talk about those episodes really quickly, and then we're going to get on to filming our reactions to the finale, the last 2 episodes. It's technically 3 episodes because I jammed the last one together, 2 episodes. Anyway, the point is that we're still a little sickly, but we didn't want to go from the last episode that we did a reaction to, which was Doom, and then skip right into A Fool's Hope. So we were going to talk a little bit about Wolves in a Door and A World Between Worlds.
Okay.
What did you think about Wolves in a Door?
I thought it was a really interesting setup for the next episode, actually. It was just like, it was really a good way to make sure that we understood what was going to be happening there.
Yeah. It was a lot of setup. I mean,
that was a lot of setup,
and I don't mind that as long as there's a payoff. And I felt like A World Between Worlds was a good payoff.
Definitely a good payoff. It would have been really hard to watch those two episodes apart. So of course, I'm very glad that they put them out together. It seems like they were putting out 1-hour episodes every week, basically. Yeah. So it was a lot of good setup for the next episode that came after. Yeah,
if you watched Wolves in a Door and then had to wait a week to see that episode, that would have been, one, painful, and also it would have felt like, wow, we spun our wheels that whole episode. Not that there wasn't good stuff in that episode. I mean, we still got to see kind of the crew dealing with Kanan's death.
Yeah, spoilers.
Yeah, well, if they're watching this, hopefully they've been watching the show. And then we also got to see sort of how they're going to be proactive in order to honor Kanan's sacrifice.
Right.
And we got to see a little bit. One of the moments I really liked in this episode was where Hera is sort of faced with her instinct is to pull them out. Come out. Let's there's too much going on here. If the Emperor's involved in this, we need to back it. We need to back down. We need to back out. Or whatever. And then she kind of felt Kanan's presence. We got to see sort of an image of Kanan behind her. And sort of
think about where he would want to lead the team.
Right. And that she trusts, in spite of being kind of a motherly presence, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way. Like, it's a good thing. Like, they look up to her to lead them in the same way that kids look to their mother to kind of lead and protect and to do all that. And so she, even though her instinct is to pull back and say, let me keep the children safe, she trusts Ezra and Sabine to do what they need to do and to do what's right. And I think that says a lot. Now, I loved in the episode Jedi Knight, as sad as that episode was, that when Hera reacts to the gliders or whatever, Kanan says that was the kids' idea.
And it was
he says it in a way that they're talking about their family. They're talking about the kids. And I thought that was this really sweet thing. And I think that we've seen that all along with Hera. There's this motherly, protective sort of thing. Not that she doesn't trust them or their abilities, but that she feels a sense of responsibility for them. And I think Kanan did too.
Yeah.
So then that episode segued into A World Between Worlds, which I felt like was one of the stronger episodes of the season.
Great episode. I really enjoyed it. It was a little a little trippy because, you had to think about really, for me, time travel always screws my brain, and I always kind of have to think really hard to make sure I understand what's happening there. And it's just, I love it, but it still makes me think harder.
And it was very spiritual, metaphysical, as opposed to this is technology.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we got the return of what the Emperor referred to as the Mortis gods. We know them from the Clone Wars as the Father, the Daughter, and the Son, all representatives of the Force. We know that Ahsoka especially had a connection to, in the Clone Wars, the daughter, because the daughter basically resurrected her when she died in that episode. So, nice to see them again. There's another bit of Dave Filoni bringing in stuff from Clone Wars that he didn't really get to fill in and flesh out. So we got that, and then we got that moment where Ezra, sees that, and you can forgive me, it's probably the sickness, but I don't remember what the little owl-like creature is called.
I don't remember what it's called. It's an owl.
Yeah,
The owl.
but when he sees that and remembers, this is I've seen you around Ahsoka. That's a connection that he has. And then that door opens up, and he sees Ahsoka
and
fighting Vader.
And sees what he didn't get to see the first time around.
Right, which we only saw part of, it turns out. And we get that moment, and his instinct, he reacts instinctually and pulls her through. And it was like, there's where a commercial break would have happened. You know,
oh, yeah, totally.
We were not watching it with commercials, but that would be where a break happened. And it was like, wow, okay, what just happened? You know, did he just really do that? Turns out he did.
He did.
So then we have this moment where Ahsoka basically has to assimilate to all the things that she's missed. And we don't see that on screen. But we know that she finds out about Kanan and everything that's happened because of the way that she responds in the rest of the episode. And it's not hard to see. I mean, Ezra has a pattern of if he sees an easy way through a problem, that he wants to take it. And that is one of the things that had us, or had him as a character sort of falling in that in-between place where he could be swayed somewhat by Maul. Where he could, the balance in him wasn't quite where it needed to be. So when he realizes that he has an opportunity to maybe save his master, and it's easy to see why as a character he would be drawn to that notion.
Absolutely.
And then I have to wonder if, I think clearly the Force was at play in all of that.
I felt like it was totally a test.
But yeah, because that door could have been to any other time in Kanan's life where he could have pulled him through. It still would have affected things, probably.
But it would have changed things so much.
It would have changed things so much. But it would have been harder to make the argument that Ahsoka makes if it had been another time.
Absolutely.
But because it was right in that moment, and she says to him, he found his moment. He found what he needed to do to be who he was meant to be. That he was there to save you. And he did. Don't take that away.
Right.
You all die. You all die if you save him now. And there's a certain amount of truth in the notion that, because Kanan says, you don't understand what you're asking of me. Because, sure, you would, in that moment, you'd understand the consequences, but there would still be that part of you that would want them back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sort of not worry about the consequences or think about the consequences after the fact. Let me just save him right now. Especially with that moment playing out in front of you again.
Right.
And then of course it was perfect to have Ahsoka be the one that's there with him to say, I understand what it's like not to be able to save your master.
Yeah, like she was literally right there living it.
Right. So I feel like all of that was really solid, really good character stuff. And then of course we have the intrusion into that space by
the Emperor. Ooh.
Yes.
It was definitely, it was really tense, actually. Just thinking that the Emperor could get into that space and be there and actually be able to control all the time and space. We wouldn't have, obviously we know that couldn't have happened, or else
things would have ended differently.
And all of that would have been completely different. But it was still, in the moment, very, very intense, trying to think what would happen if he actually got into that space. Yeah,
and it was clear kind of from how it was set up that he was using some sort of Sith magic or spell or something to find Ezra to be, so he couldn't get through that without Ezra.
Right.
And that was his goal, of course, there. And so he gave us that scary moment of him pulling back. And of course, a very bookendy sort of moment when flames come blasting out and Ahsoka's holding them back. And you're like, and I think you even said, again?
Again? Is this going to happen again?
And so we got that motion, we got that moment, and she says, I can't do this on my own. I'm not strong enough to do this. And Ezra steps in, and together they're strong enough to do it. And then we get, of course, them running. Ezra gets pulled back. Ahsoka jumps in with her lightsaber and kind of breaks that connection between he and the Emperor, and they run again,
and then
splitting up.
Off. Yeah.
And he says to her, make sure that you find me. When you get back, make sure that you find me. And she says, I will. And then we see her go back through the portal where it looks like she's where we left her at the end of that particular episode. She's wounded, she's under the temple, she's going to find a way out. So we don't know where she's been.
For 2 years.
Because
this was the end of season 2.
Yeah, or what she's been up to in that time.
But she clearly would have had to have kept herself away from Ezra because she would have to meet him after.
Right, and he would have thought of her as being dead for that 2 years. Or
right, so she couldn't be alive and then have him pull
So
her
it'll be
out.
interesting to see if she comes back into play in the final 2 episodes of the season. I wonder if she will. That felt like a sort of Dave Filoni, here's a little more Ahsoka and now she's going away moment to me. But I would be happy to see her.
Oh yeah, totally.
For sure.
I feel like she's really an interesting character.
What I don't want to happen is to have her come back in the finale and have that be the end of her.
Yeah.
Because I think there's so much potential for her as a non-Jedi character that has that training, that has that knowledge of who Vader really is and all that. I think there's a lot of stuff that he could play with.
Yeah.
So I would almost rather her not come back and have him use her in another series or something like that.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. But we just don't know yet because we haven't seen these episodes.
And then Ezra comes back, closes the portal or the door, and then they escape. Thanks to some ingenuity by Chopper.
Yes.
And then Ezra wakes up to find that the temple is gone. It's hidden itself away.
Which is a good thing.
It's a good thing, for sure. And so it leaves us with Ezra saying to Hera that he now knows what they need to do, that it was one last lesson from Kanan. And she says, he's gone now, isn't he? And he says, yes. And before he leaves, he turns and sees the Loth Wolf that was a representative of Kanan to him walking away.
Yeah.
So that was a nice moment. I felt like another sad moment, another moment to kind of touch on that loss and what that means. But also a nice moment for Ezra to say, he's gone, but he's still teaching me. And he heard from Ahsoka that he's a part of the living force now, so he can influence his will in certain ways. So. So I thought that was good, a nice connection to things that we already know about the Force and all of that. So that's it for those 2 episodes, Wolves at a Door and A World Between Worlds.
We enjoyed them greatly.
Yeah,
and it makes us just really want to see what's happening next. I'm excited, but also sad that the series is going to be over. So let's just... We'll be there and we'll watch it with you guys coming up in another video. Yeah,
and unfortunately we're both still sick, so we're going to react to the finale and all of that, but we're going to be just like this, stuffy, and probably taking a break to cough every now and then, but we can edit around those things. So anyway, we hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, click that thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing to our channel. It really helps us out. And if you are subscribed, click that little bell icon so you can be notified the next time we drop another video. We just dropped one of our kids who stepped in because we were sick, reacting to the Mary Poppins Returns trailer. So be sure and check that out too, and give them a comment. Let them know you like watching their videos too. So anyway, until next time, folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.